Hi, my name is Joshua Fraser. I'm the Vice President for Communications of the Indigenous Peoples Commission. I'm from the Pekingese First Nation of Saskatchewan. I'm here with my colleague,
Rhonda Evans, and I'm the Vice President of Membership and Organization of the Indigenous Peoples Commission, and I originate from the Optimism First Nation in Quebec.
So we are with our co-chairs here, Lisa Abbott and Chad Cowie. They will introduce themselves and they're going to talk to you about the spirit and the feel of the convention and how things are going, and just give you a general overview of our participation. So I'll turn you over to them now. Please feel free to ask your questions.
Hi, I'm Lisa Abbott. I'm the female co-chair for the Indigenous Peoples Commission of Canada, for the Liberal Party Canada. I'm from Treaty 6 territory, from Pelican Lake First Nation, and I reside in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Bonjour, Chad Nishnakaz, Noma Canyon and Dunjaba, Montreal Megwadota, Mayagadodam. My name's Chad. I am from Mississaugas of Rice Lake First Nation. I'm from Pre-Confederation territory. I am the male co-chair for the IPC. I'm here with Lisa and Josh and Rhonda attending the AFN and learning, listening, and seeing how we as a commission and party are doing in rebuilding nation-nation relations and reconciliation.
Great. So how do you feel that the AGA is going so far? Do you feel, what is the spirit? What is the intent? What is the energy going on here?
You know, I actually was part of the Assembly of First Nations when during the decade of Prime Minister Harper, so I know that the mood has definitely shifted, but I would say that the mood here at the Assembly, if I had to describe it in a word, would be cautiously optimistic. I think people are hopeful for a new relationship and they're really looking forward to working with this government, but I would say because we're Indigenous, we've heard a lot, we've been through a lot of different governments. Cautious optimism is the mood that I've experienced.
I will agree with my co-chair. I'll agree heavily with Lisa on the term cautiously optimistic. We're at a time where we're seeing a Canadian government for the first time in Canada's existence is starting to work with us. They're doing things no government has before, and I know to some of our fellow Indigenous peoples, they're not moving fast enough, but you know, it's difficult to decolonize 150, 200, 300 years of experience with the settler population on how to move forward on this and how to do better relations with Canada. And it seems to be very cautious but optimistic here. Hearing them comment and express thanks to the ministers that have been here, Carolyn Bennett, Jane Philbott, Jody Wilson-Raybould, and some of the MPs from the Liberal Party being here, there is a clear sign that there's optimism there, but it's cautious because it's such a new thing and there's so much that still needs to be done. Compared to when I went to the AGA 3 years ago, there was a lot of frustration, anger, because there was no working relationship with Canada's federal government, and it seems to be changing in that sense where they're seeing that. But again, this is only 8 months in, so cautiously optimistic is the best word usage for how the atmosphere is here.
So in terms of opportunities for us as learnings as Liberal Indigenous Peoples Commission, what steps do we take forward from some of the words we've heard from this weekend? How do we put some of these ideas into action? How are they relatable to what we're doing here at the convention?
I think the key theme is a new relationship. What I've heard both ministers say is that it really is up to the First Nations and the chiefs and the community members to really define what that nation-to-nation relationship would look like. So I've been in different plenary sessions and in different working sessions, and what I've heard is there's a real, I guess, push and a real move to just do it. We've waited, and built on the experience of previous, strong leadership in First Nations and Indigenous communities, and just do it. We have a willing government now, and I think it's time that I've felt the theme that it's our time, and it's our time to get this done. We have a willing government. We have to roll up our sleeves and do the hard work.
Again, following up with what Lisa said, that has been kind of the attitude. It's our time, and we have to remember that we need to explain to them, and it's amazing and so different to have Canadian representatives here who are telling us, no, you need to tell us what to do. We need to learn from you. That's not an experience we've had almost in an entire generations, almost the entire existence of Canada. So I think we need to start remembering that when, say, the current federal government isn't necessarily moving as quickly as we expect it to, we got to remember there's a lot of proper consultation to do, and we need to understand and discuss with them what we think that consultation means. That includes talking with, unfortunately, the Indian Act band councils. It includes talking with traditional governance. It includes talking with their communities and the organizations in place, as well as the grassroots part, the people, and the various peoples that exist throughout the different nations that Canada shares territory with. And that's part of where our job comes in, where we can help with that, is being that bridge with the grassroots communities, and to an extent with the communities and their councillor systems or their traditional governance, as a way to move forward and bring those voices and bring the input that comes from that to the government, to the Liberal Party, so that way we can push them and show them that this is what's needed, while remembering as well that some of you who may watch this aren't, registered Liberals, aren't aligned with the Liberals, and we want to hear from Indigenous Liberals, but we want to hear from non-Liberal Indigenous peoples as well, because this is not just about us being a part of the party as card-carrying Liberal registered Liberals, but it's about making sure that we can help be that bridge between our communities and the Canadian system to be able to move forward. And to do that means we have to listen to more than just those who are Indigenous Liberals.
Okay. Final question. Thoughts, Canada's 150th birthday is next year. What does that mean to us as Indigenous people who've been here for millennia? How do we move forward? How do we celebrate Canada's birthday, but celebrate our own existence? How do we acknowledge our history and our Indigenous title to the land?
I think we actually learn a lot. Actually, there was a very inspiring speech yesterday by Grand Chief Derek Meepanak, specifically on this issue, on the idea of reconciliation, moving the new relationship forward. I know there was calls for a new royal proclamation, as well as federal legislation that makes the space and creates the space for us to have those nation-to-nation discussions, both in our community and with the federal government. I think that's really important. I come from Treaty 6 territory, and in Treaty 6 territory this summer we're celebrating the 140 years of Treaty 6. We'll also have 140 years of the Indian Act. So I think that the key for us as Indigenous peoples and as Indigenous Liberals is really helping to facilitate that dialogue on how do we move beyond the Indian Act, because the Indian Act has been the biggest barrier in that nation-to-nation relationship. So I'm pretty excited. I'm really excited to engage people right across the country, supporters, non-supporters, really tell us what we need to be doing and how we're going to move beyond that Indian Act.
And echoing again what Lisa said, there's not much, she says it perfectly as well. This idea, there's been a discussion, pardon everyone when I look down, it's because I'm trying to think of what to say so I don't ramble. There is also this need to consider about a new way to move forward. If we have a new government who's working with us and wants to move forward on a new relationship, because clearly the last, since Confederation on, even before Confederation, that has not been a good one. It's been a paternal, it's been a colonial, it's been one about assimilating us or getting rid of us. So if we're looking to move forward alongside Canada, because Canada is here, there are 35 other million people here, and in general, we have to work together and understand one another, and a part of celebrating that 150th anniversary is looking at the things Canada has done positively since 1867, its acceptance of different groups of people, its role in peacekeeping in the international world, and wanting to move forward on proper things and social justice. However, at the same time, part of our job as being a part of that party structure is that we need to remind them of the negative impacts of the last 150 years. But showing that we're in a time where we can see potential optimism of the future. So again, cautiously optimistic. But there's a potential to highlight that, because a key thing as well moving forward is that we can't let it be forgotten that it happened. So that way we can remember why we're moving into this new relationship.
So we have some thoughts here from some folks who are following us. They say cautious equals lack of trust. We're waiting to see if this is for real. Is this for real? How do we move forward with that cautious optimism that we have?
I personally don't think cautious means a lack of trust. I think cautious means that we're being cautious with how we're moving forward. It's something new. Cautious means we're moving forward in something new because it's a foreign relationship that we're starting to see now, where it's not one that's been negative. It's not one of necessarily just control. Cautious optimism and cautious in general is that we see potential, we see the change, they're saying the right things, and for those of us inside the party, we're seeing movement forward. But, we realize that there's things that need to be done going along forward with that. So there's a cautious approach to that. And although we are Indigenous liberals, I am, and I'm talking for myself here, I do look at it cautiously because I still come from my community. I still remember where I'm from and my family and my nephews and my niece and the generations to come. And that's why I'm doing what I do, because I want to see things better for them than what it was for me and my mother and so on.
Yeah, and I think part of the thing about being cautiously optimistic and being hopeful about the future is the fact that a lot of times we've heard words in the past, we've heard nice words coming from the government, but I think the barometer is going to be really actions. Do these actions and do the promises that we made as Liberals, have they been followed up on? And I think that's the barometer that will be judged on going into the next election. But bigger issue than the election is whether it's the barometer for the relationship. It's that new relationship, and I think that I'm very hopeful. I ran as a Liberal in the last election because I do believe that this is the government that will create the type of change, but we have to bring our vision forward too.
Right. Any final thoughts or words?
Just a quick one. So if people are watching this and watch it later and they want to give some input because they're not necessarily able to be here at the FNAGA or they feel disconnected because of Indian Act policy, however they stand, council, talk to us. Send us a message. We want to hear your input of how we can reach into our party structure as well as reach further up into helping the minister and other parts of this current government to be able to move forward on this. Our duty and our job is not just to bring things forward from registered Indigenous Liberals, as I've said, but also from non-Liberal Indigenous peoples as well. We have many duties to do here, and it's not just, as a candidate I've known from back home has said, we're not here to be a mouthpiece for the party, we're here to listen and to be a megaphone for our communities back to the party to help them understand. And I'm happy to be in a party where, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister, has told us at the last convention for the party that they don't want to ever make Indigenous peoples choose between being Liberal or Indigenous again, but rather be able to be embraced as Indigenous Liberals. And that's my hope.
I think for me, one of the biggest hopes I have in this role as co-chair before the 150th anniversary of Confederation is the fact that we've always been excluded from the nation building of this country. And that's one of the things that I think the Liberal Party, if they can do anything, is to leave a different legacy. We are the future. We can make strong contributions back into the country. And I think that the part of the nation building is one of the things that I would love to see. And that's going to be my personal barometer for how this party does going into the next election.
And quick, one last point. Going off of what Lisa just said as well, Trudeau has on many occasions mentioned that Canada's Confederation is not complete because Indigenous peoples have not been brought to the table of Federation. It has been a unilateral approach, and that is again the part of the optimism we see, where they're acknowledging that. The Prime Minister of Canada has acknowledged that a lot of our nations have not been brought to the Federation table. So that's a big step forward.
Well, from the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Six Nations, we appreciate your feedback. We're going to go to our Vice President, Ronna Evans, for a quick message about the new registration process for the party and how we are trying to be inclusive of communities.
Oh, hi. I'm so glad that you're all joining us today, those who can or those who will join us later. And I just would like to remind everyone that if you would like to sign up for Liberal membership, it is free to do so. And we have posted on our page how to do that. There is a link to go up and just sign up. And we hope to welcome you into the Liberal family and work together for ourselves and our communities and the next 7 generations.
Thank you. And I'd like to remind folks, Joshua Fraser, Vice President of Communications, that yes, indeed, we are trying to engage all communities, whether they be urban, whether they be rural, whether they be northern, whether they be remote, First Nation, Métis, Inuit. Our approach is to engage all, and that's what we'll be doing. You'll notice there is a newsletter that we posted on our website where you'll get a variety of views of our members. We are also grassroots Indigenous people. We thank you for your time today. please feel free to continue to engage us, send us messages. We're here to talk, we're here to listen, we're here to be a part of the conversation. So thank you for tuning in today. On behalf of the IPCA, Miigwech, thank you.